right, I am going to show a little bit about some cutting tools, specifically the knives, and I might throw a couple of other things in. Specifically, when I use knives and cutting tools at my cooking shows, I don't try to push them as I'm trying to sell this product to you. I use them kind of what I call in their natural state. One of the biggest things that I try to do is know my tools and be confident with my tool. If I'm not really sure of how to use it, I make sure that before I show up at my shows, I have gone through things and know how it works. I know if it's going to work equally well with soft things or with hard things, because we all know that sometimes you can show up to a show and your hostess has the ingredients all out and you're expecting a nice firm tomato because it's going to slice great with your simple slicer, just to find out that she's gotten some really ripe tomatoes, and you say, ooh, if you try to put that on your simple slicer, you're going to end up with a big pile of mush, and it's not going to sell your simple slicer. So you kind of have to work on your feet when you're at your show and say, okay, I've got some really soft tomatoes tonight, my hostess have given me. They're awesome tomatoes, but I am not going to use my simple slicer. Do you need me to stop? All right, so be adaptable. That's my one big thing about your shows, is when you get there, kind of go through what the hostess has given for you to use in your ingredients, and look at them. If it's a soft tomato, don't put it on the simple slicer. Have a knife available, have it nice and sharp. Another good thing to always remember too, and maybe Dina can slip this to me if she has a green tomato knife. If you always have a green tomato knife, which is a serrated knife, much like this one, this is a great knife, but a lot of people don't like to put the money out for the professional knife series. I always recommend them. If they're going to put money out, I say save up and get a really good knife, because these professional quality Pampered Chef knives are awesome. I love them. I have gotten lots of knives over the years. Before I was a Pampered Chef consultant, I had a whole set of knives that I picked up in Europe from Germany, awesome knives, and I actually like my Pampered Chef knives better than my German-made knives. The knife is the same quality, as good or better quality, keeps a great edge, but the handles are so great. They're weighted. If you're not a chefy type, if you don't know how to use your knives, take a minute or an hour, kind of like Julia Childs, and practice using your knives so you are adept at using them at your kitchen show. If you look clumsy using your tools, they're not going to sell no matter how good your product is. They'll only sell themselves as well as you are able to use them. So really get to know them. When you handle your chef's knife, don't hold it like this, because the people that know how to handle a knife will automatically read you as someone who doesn't know how to handle their knife, because a chef knife is held with your fingers on either side of the blade this way, and that way you can really use the knife blade in the way it was meant to be used in slicing and dicing and cutting. These are the tools that chefs always keep with them. Professional chefs will have their own set of knives. If nothing else, in the kitchen, they bring their knives with them, because that's how important it is for them to be able to use. Now, going back to the tomato, if you've decided that you're not going to use a simple slicer on it because it's just not going to work, and you're not feeling confident about using your chef knife, you always have the option of showing the tomato knife. And if you use the tomato knife, it's another serrated knife, and it's the green tomato knife like this. It doesn't matter how firm or how soft your tomato is, it is just going to slice right through no matter what. And you can sell a lot of these little tomato knives. They're on the very affordable end. They'll last a good long while if treated correctly. Now, they're not going to last like this knife. This is a great knife, okay? So if someone really uses their knife, they can either, replace this one. It's not like we mind that at all, but they can either replace this one or just save up and get the better knife. It all depends on what kind of cook you're talking to, and if they're really looking for a good replacement knife, this is the one you want to direct them to. But in the meantime, all the other ladies are going to love these little green-coated knives, color-coded knives, and they do a great job at cutting the tomatoes, whether they're thick or thin, chopping, dicing, whatever, they'll do a great job. Your chef knife, always make sure it's good and sharp. Tell people that they need to hone their knives every time they use it. Otherwise, they're not going to keep that sharp edge. If you hone it, it's going to be nice and sharp. Honing it, you want to kind of demonstrate, if you're going to use these nice professional knives, you want to show them how to hone it. Because if people don't have a honing tool of some sort, whether it be a Pampered Chef honing tool, a steel and a knife blade, something that they have to hone their knife, they're going to say, you know what, I spent a lot of money on that professional knife and it just doesn't cut anymore. And you say, have you honed it lately? I don't even know what that means, to hone my knife. So you need to show them, when you're selling your knives, how to hone the knife using this little tool here, or something. Well, of course we're going to use this little tool here, but people at home might have something similar to it that they haven't known how to use until you show them how to do it. You know, and sell that this can be used either right-handed or left-handed to protect your countertops from slicing as you pull it through. But you want to show them to properly hone your knives, just to pull it through kind of at an angle or through, and you want to feel a little bit of a resistance on your knife blade, and just pull it a few times through, and that's all you need. But you need to do that every single time that you bring these knives out. You need to hone them, keep them nice and sharp. If you're going to use them in your cooking demonstrations, again, make sure that you know what you're doing with them, make sure they're nice and sharp, make sure you're paying attention, because you will cut your fingers, and nothing's worse than cutting your finger in front of everybody out there. Yeah, you'll prove that they're really nice and sharp, but that's really not what you're wanting to get across to them at that moment, that yeah, they can cut their finger and they'll say, ooh, I'm not going to get that knife because it's hard to handle, and I'm going to cut myself. We know that a lot of people are very apprehensive about using big professional knives like this because they're afraid of cutting themselves. So that's always good to I guess they call it cross-selling, the different kind of cutting tools. If I am going to sell these knives like this, or, you know, kind of train people on how to use these knives, I tell them that my two greatest tools for this kind of knife is the chef's knife and the little paring knife. These are the two knives, these are the workhorses of my kitchen. I use them constantly, all the time. I have other knives in my knife block, but these are the two that are out most of the time. The little tomato knife I use a lot. If they're not happy with not comfortable with using this knife, this new little simple slicer is a great tool. I do happen to like it a little bit more than the Ultimate Mandolin because it is so easy to use. However, the reason the Ultimate Mandolin has gotten to be a little bit less user-friendly is for safety reasons. Lots and lots of people have, over the years, have been cutting themselves, and I'm sure Pampered Chef has heard a lot about it. People complaining that they're cutting themselves on the Ultimate Mandolin. Now this one has 3 different settings, but it has that exposed blade. So if you run your finger across this, you're going to cut a big hunk of flesh off of your finger. So it does have the guard, just like the Ultimate Mandolin, but you can use this one without the guard, which is why I really like it. You know, if you're just going to use and I would go with using something a little bit firmer on this. If you use a smushy tomato, you're going to get kind of a tomato paste as a result of it. Okay, it's very sharp, but we know tomatoes that are really soft, you want to show with one of these little guys because you'll have great results. So you just take your little apple and you can show them. Apples are a great thing to show. Potatoes are a great thing to show with this little thing. One is very, 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 very paper thin, all right? And this is the one I use with showing the microwave chip maker. People love the microwave chip maker, and I guess I make it look really easy because people buy it by the tons, and then they get home and I have to go over and I have to show them. I have to have a training class on how to get your things thin enough and how my chips turned out so well, and they think I really substituted my chips with a bag of professionally made chips, because theirs never turns out like this. So you have to kind of tell them that you just run it across the blade without much pressure, because if you press it, you're not going to get this really, really thin. And then the second setting, a little bit thicker, a little more pressure. And at this time, see, kids love to make the little star house in their little apple. You can get your kids to eat apples this way. You tell them that there's a little star living inside the apple. Cut it this way and they can see it, and they like to eat around it. And my kids always liked it. They're all grown now, and even sometimes now they like to have a little star in their apple. All right, and number 3 is what I would go, when you're getting down to this size of the piece of produce, put your guard on, okay? Let's not chance putting your fingers through the blade here. Make sure that you expose the prongs, kind of center it, all right? and then you're going to apply a little bit of pressure with your fingers to slice it. And these, you see, are just a little bit slightly thicker. We're going to use these for, au gratin potatoes, apples. This is a great way to slice them for eating. So the biggest thing I think that I would tell people in using your cutting tools is first, get to know your tools. Really practice with them at home. Don't come unprepared to your show, because everyone will see right through that, okay? You can't fake your way through not knowing how to use your tools properly. Make sure that you have a good knowledge of all the different kind of cutting tools. Be in tune with your audience. If you are working with a bunch of older people who maybe need some help, maybe you have arthritic hands, really know which tools are going to be the most useful for them, and because those will sell themselves without you having to do anything, and use a few of them. Second, make sure that you're adaptable to the ingredients that you might have at hand. If you only come prepared for firm things and you get nothing but soft, you have to be adaptable to know that they're not going to, maybe the simple slicer or the ultimate mandolin are not going to be the best things to use, and go for your knives that you've brought along. Be adaptable to the situation. And just have fun with it. Know what you're doing, know what you're talking about, and like everything of Pampered Chef, it sells itself if you come prepared and are really knowledgeable about what you're selling. Hope that helps.